Welcome to Gamepinions episode 7. I'm your host, Calvin, and today I'm joined for the very first time by Kimberly.
Hi.
How's it going, Kimberly?
It's going good. It's a rainy day.
It's nice to finally have you on the show because we've been talking about this for literally months.
I know. I mean, I'm excited to be on my very first podcast ever. This is my first one. I've never done anything like this, so.
Yeah, so I mean, we're 7 episodes in. I think it's really interesting having you on the show because you don't really listen to any podcasts, really.
No.
So, and you've never been on one before. You just said that. So it's almost like I'm getting a fresh person in here with that. You know, it's just for me. I feel like because I listen to so many podcasts that I kind of run the risk of like duplicating other things. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a writer that reads too many books or something. You know what I mean? They start to develop like a writing style and they start, throwing out some crazy stuff. You, though, are a blank slate.
Well, I'll take it as a compliment.
You're like a little molding clay. I can mold into.
I'm scared. I'm a sandbox.
Okay. So, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
But, so every time we have someone new on the show, this is a long-running tradition. So far, we have myself, and that's it. So it's a long-running tradition where the new host or guest is going to come on here, and they're going to basically tell them the audience their origin story about gaming. So how did you get into gaming? Like, what was your start?
It all started when I was like around 4 years old. I was really young, and I would go into the living room when I used to live in Florida, and I would sit on the couch with my mom and dad. And my mom was like a backseat gamer, and she would watch my dad play and try to instruct him, like, this is what you do. This is, go that way, don't do that, and, the whole forte. And my dad was the one controlling it, and it was the original Tomb Raider on the original PlayStation. And that thing would always come up, stop wherever you were, and you'll lose all your progress. So I remember them getting mad, and they wouldn't throw their controller or anything because they understood not to do that.
Yeah, it was
obviously
expensive to replace the controller.
Yeah, and then you have to stop everything you're doing and go get a new controller when you're just trying to have a good gaming session.
Oh yeah.
So they would go run and get books, and then they would be really careful. They're like, "Oh God, do you think that's too heavy?" And
just forcefully pinning down the lid on the PlayStation.
Force it to work for them. So that's what they would do. And I used to just like watch, and it was the most terrifying thing ever. I don't know why. I mean, the original Tomb Raider isn't that scary, but with like the wolves and like there was like this dark pit, and then like I asked about it, and then my mom told me like this horrifying tale, like if you fall in it, and there's like this lore about it. I was like, okay, this is too much.
Yeah, it's too deep.
I was so scared of Tomb Raider, which I don't think anyone ever is.
This probably wasn't the intention of the game to be a
I was
horror
so young.
game.
I was so young. I didn't really understand what was happening even. I'm just like watching them do this. And for my birthday, I ended up getting an original Tomb Raider in like her original outfit, I guess, with a little blue, I guess, tank or her exploring outfit. And it was a little detailed, obviously.
Little risque.
Voluptuous.
Oh, okay.
But obviously that doesn't click in your heads when you're little. You're
no,
like,
it's
oh,
not
this is
About.
awesome,
Yeah.
And had me a nice little cup of soda and ate my cake. It was great. I've never had a custom cake like that before. And
so it was custom Tomb Raider cake.
Yeah, it was a custom Tomb Raider. It was pretty big. It could have easily fed 30 people, in my opinion.
Oh, man.
It was heavy, thick. It was just huge.
Now, was the cake thick or was Lara Croft thick?
Oh, both.
Okay, sorry for the off-color joke.
I don't know who ended up getting the certain,
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
slices.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I just got one of the safe corner pieces, but so no one could take a picture of that.
You don't want to eat your childhood hero. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's what we ended up, doing for my birthday. I got like some kind of little statue figurine too.
Mm-hmm.
But I officially didn't start actually playing games until it was like my first legitimate game, I guess, would be Halo. When my dad walked in with the first Xbox and the Halo game. And he's like, all right, y'all, this is just for us. This isn't for y'all. And we're just ambushing him. We're like, what do you got? What do you got? We're just like ripping his arms apart, grabbing the machine, and running it over and plugging it in. And we were the first ones to play. He didn't even get to play it first.
Oh, wow.
It was so sad. He had to watch us play it for his.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was really sad for him. But that was my first legitimate game. And then, I have my cousin who plays games too. I think overall, if when you have 3 kids or more, or whatever, 2 kids, I don't know, and you want to keep them busy, get them a console and
Yeah,
some
seriously,
games,
yeah.
and then they're good. They're as long
There's
as you
so many
have.
different kinds of games people can play and enjoy.
There used to be, the Barbie, what is it? The Horse Adventures game that I loved. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to go find ponies. And, my brothers are like, that's lame. And then the next day I'm over here playing a shooting game, killing aliens. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
I feel like it's mood based, but there was just so much variety. So that's really my first game that I got invested into, and I became a little Xbox fangirl for quite some time.
Oh
So,
man. See, I'm kind of envious of you because you got to play like a classic shooter, Halo, when you were younger, and you got to play or got to at least watch Tomb Raider and all that. See, I explained this early on in I think episode 1 actually about the games I got to play when I was little on Genesis, and I grew up with Sonic. I didn't really understand it that well. Obviously, my brother and sister understood it way more than I did.
what them rings do, right? I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what is
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's but you got to play these classic games, and I'm sitting here playing like freaking Pac-Man Adventure, which is like one of the worst games of all time in my opinion. So so I'm a little bit envious about that. So yeah, I mean, I was thinking about topics that we could have because I knew we were gonna have this
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
So the PlayStation Classic is coming out. I don't remember the exact date. I'm pretty sure it's soon.
Yay.
Yeah, it's the library. I'm not gonna read off all the games. I don't want to get too deep into that area of the
Mhm.
PlayStation Classic, but it's actually like a really disappointing lineup for like the core PlayStation fans and the core PlayStation 1 fans. And I mean, it's just a lot of disappointment. We'll uncover some more of that later on in terms of that. But I think that PlayStation Classic's a really difficult system to kind of make a classic version of because I
Mhm.
feel like the PlayStation and like the Nintendo 64, they're not really super old yet, like to be considered like in that category. I know that they
Ancient.
are
Yeah.
because I mean that's PlayStation's first go at the gaming industry essentially. So I think that for like certain plug and play games like Atari, it's so minimal that it's always going to be Atari. Like you have to have a heavy imagination to pretend that this little box walking around your screen is a hero, with magical powers or whatever, or asteroids and all that stuff. So you have to have a really strong imagination. It's always going to look like an Atari game.
Mhm.
NES always going to look like a Nintendo game. You have the Mario game, the original Legend of Zelda. It's always going to look the same. Nothing's ever going to change it. There's nothing to really compare it to besides I guess the newer indie games or whatever. But that's not really like a drastic. Like everything's so simple enough where it's easy to navigate.
Mhm.
Then you have like Super Nintendo. These sprite-based games are always going to be timeless.
Mhm.
They're never going to change. You'll always remember them being the same when you go back and play it. But when it comes to Nintendo 64, it comes to the PlayStation. You could probably bring it into the PlayStation 2 and Xbox era, GameCube. Some of the games might not hold up as well, especially now that we're so used to like evolving with the 3D games. These
Yeah.
older games are very basic, but they also have technical limitations that our eyes are just not used to viewing anymore.
Mhm.
You read stories about people that went from like the Super Nintendo era to the Nintendo 64 era and got sick while playing because they just weren't used to that yet.
Mhm.
I feel like when you go back, it's almost like the same way. These games just don't really hold up that well, so I think it's really hard to market this as something that makes sense for $100 for a gamer besides for collecting purposes.
Mhm.
Where I feel like Super Nintendo and the NES, they're actually like usable. It's still a novelty item, but it's still usable.
Yeah, well, when you have those sprite-based games, I mean, what are you gonna do? Come out with an HD Oh, yeah, wait a minute, it's pixels. You
Yeah.
can't really come out with. You're gonna change the colors? Like, what else are you
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
do? You come to these 3D models, and it's different physics engines. It's different calculations of his jumping height, and oh, look how unreal that looks. It's obviously some different expectations for a 3D game.
Mhm.
And when you go backwards, if you're not the person, I just don't understand when people go backwards. They think, oh, they're going to come out with an HD version. It's going to look so realistic. When did you grow up? Because
Oh,
no,
yeah.
back then, it was rough. I mean, back then, Tomb Raider had polygonal breasts. They look like triangles. They look like Egyptian pyramids. That's
Yeah.
not going to change. They can make an HD version of that, but when you go to a console and you're like, oh, we're going to do this whole project to reboot and put our money into doing this, like, let's come back with the most favorite games. They're not going to remaster those games, and spend all that money just for you to pay $100 for
Oh
the
yeah,
bundle.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's obvious. I just feel like it's a waste in a way for them to waste time on it when those fan bases understand that going back to that, they know what to expect. They know that like they had fun with them, but really they're gonna chuck out $100 more for a system they may actually already have in their house.
Yeah, which they probably do.
Exactly.
There's different ways to play
Yeah.
this. PlayStation Vita is one of the most popular ways to play PlayStation Classics. I don't think that PlayStation 4 has a ton of PlayStation Classics on it, but PlayStation 3 did. There's different ways to play it that make more sense than throwing out $100 for a PlayStation Classic when you could realistically get an original PlayStation for, a lot cheaper than that. And all the games for a lot cheaper than that.
And it could work just fine. I just feel like people can just go get a classic PlayStation. And those that are fans of it, the fan base that they're expecting to really, I guess, buy this stuff, those people probably already have the PlayStations themselves. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
So, especially since I jumped from PlayStation to Xbox, and that I had for a really long time an original Xbox.
Yeah.
These people probably already have the systems in their house. Are they working? Who knows? Maybe if you uncovered the dust,
Yeah, dust it off a little
however
bit.
you preserved your technology, maybe it won't work, and you should chuck out $100. But I just don't know how I feel about going back for 3D, consoles that make 3D games necessarily. If it's a sprite game, if it's these, really original games, maybe you might have a hope of getting, a good profit off of it or
Oh, yeah,
whatnot. But
yeah.
I just feel like the fun, like you're gonna chuck $100, go set this puppy up. You're gonna sit down and invest your time into playing it for a game that you might have already played in the past. You're kind of done with. You don't know if you really want to play it. I just don't know how I feel, about that.
Yeah, and in terms of the game library, I don't really have a ton of complaints, but that's because I'm not super familiar with the PlayStation 1. I never had a PlayStation 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't super familiar with the library and which games are considered great. That's like a part of my my gaming knowledge that I just don't really have a lot of knowledge about. So in terms of like improvements to the library and stuff, I'm not really sure what I would do. I do think that it's very limiting that they are including the original PlayStation controller, which does not have the dual analog. I believe after that, I'm not sure what year they released it, but they did release a dual analog, which later, evolved into the DualShock that we know today. I think that's very limited. A lot of the games are in that 3D space. You're stuck with a D-pad. And even if they released a Nintendo 64 Classic, you still have an analog stick that can, navigate through these, 3D worlds. But I feel like that would even run into the same issues.
And,
It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
in the modern day, I feel like it's a hard thing to grasp for a lot of companies, and it really can hinder them from making profits that if they just put it somewhere else, they could get somewhere. So what I'm about to say is this is the modern day. We have computers that kids are creating at this point. Parents are like, oh yeah, just get the parts, put it together. I mean, this has become the new norm. We are progressing with our technology. We are looking for the next thing, the whole VR thing, the whole this and that. Why go back to the classics if the games may or may not even be considered truly classic games? And how much fun are you going to have? Really, it's what you said to me. Yeah, we had a discussion about this where it's like a novelty item.
Yeah, it is.
Putting it on the shelf. And
it's a cool collector's item.
This. Yeah.
It is cool. I think that it's awesome they're having Persona in there. That game, actually, if you're trying to buy the physical Persona game off like eBay or something, it's actually going for like a really expensive price. It's similar to how Earthbound was. I think after Earthbound was released on the Wii U's eShop, it kind of knocked that down a little bit, and now you also have it on the NES or the SNES Classic. And it also kind of degrades that price a little bit too. It's cool to have it on there. I just don't think it's functional enough, and I don't know if this is going to, if the library of games that are on there really appeal to the core PlayStation fans that would appreciate having that on their shelves. Because I can't imagine playing too much of those games. Maybe, like I said, Twisted Metal or something like that. But I think that, as a collector's item, it's cool. I just don't think it doesn't seem to me, based off comments that I've heard from core PlayStation fans, that this really delivered for them and something that they would want to collect.
Yeah, I just feel like it's, for me at least, in my opinion, it's a miss. That's money I wish they would have just invested into
Yeah.
any new game companies. Make more games. Make more games to release that are exclusive to your console if you want to create that kind of competition. Invest in that. Everything's cross-platform now, which I understand. But if you really want to hit bank, you got to make a good game that's exclusive for your console.
Yeah.
Make people come to you. That's how I looked at Halo. Halo wasn't on the PlayStation for a long, forever. It still ain't. It's an exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let go of that, especially since Halo was good, back then at least.
Yeah, revolutionary shooter for the time,
I was like, oh, heck no, I could never go to PlayStation. I have my Halo, and I am happy. I want to shoot aliens. All that was me in my little world. I feel like if they had really good games that are going to continue them for years with those fan bases, you're kind of set. I just wish they would have took that money and said, no, this has to go elsewhere. But, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I will say that this PlayStation Classic, I think Sony's making a hefty profit off it. It's literally a brick of plastic with an emulator in it. That's basically what it is. It's just a little circuit board, and that's it. So they're probably making a big profit. Which, hey, they'll be able to use that to possibly invest in more games in the future. It's kind of like paying homage to the original PlayStation. I think that, once again, based off the comments, they probably didn't do the best job of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also heard rumors that it might possibly be able to be modified in a legal way, potentially. So there might be some games that could potentially be added on there. I'm not sure how true that is.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens with that.
All right.
So I kind of wanted to move on from the PlayStation.
Okay.
And this is just, and I know you were a big Xbox fan. This is something that I read. I don't have it on here. I just kind of popped in my head. I didn't put it in my notes. But Microsoft is looking to acquire Obsidian. Obsidian is the development team that made Fallout New Vegas. So they're looking to bring them in to, I guess, work with them in terms of first-party support. Or it might be more of a second-party type of thing.
Ooh.
So Obsidian, I know you're not the biggest fan of Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest, but they were capable of making a game that a lot of people loved.
And a lot of people think that New Vegas was superior to Fallout 3.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, that's a fan favorite to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They fixed a lot of mechanical issues, and really it could have been even better, but Bethesda apparently rushed them to get that out. This is an old story, but they apparently rushed them to get that out. And I bring up that because our next topic, we're going to head into some news stories. Our next topic is going to be Fallout 76.
Ooh.
So, Fallout 76, I think that it's an interesting project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting project. However, there's a lot of talk about people that use the beta. Now, keep in mind it is a beta, but also keep in mind it's a Bethesda game. Bethesda games are notorious for bugs, glitches, all kinds of things. Yeah. So Fallout 76 has apparently been buggy, with uncapped frame rate, which I'm assuming means that they don't cap the frame rate, or at least not into the beta. So you're getting a lot of mixed performance, a lot of slowdowns. It's not locked at anything. And then you also are going to be getting glitches in the physics. I haven't really dug super deep and figure out what that is, but with knowing what I know about Bethesda, with freaking in Skyrim with cows dropping from the sky, just random. I don't even know if cows are in Skyrim actually, but things falling from the sky that shouldn't
be. Dragon bones and stuff randomly.
Enemies floating.
They're dead, but they're falling. It's like, okay.
With things like that, I can only imagine what's going on with Fallout 76. A lot of this is stemming from Bethesda's reluctance to move away from an engine they've been using for a long time.
Oh.
With this called the Creation Engine, it was kind of basically a modified version of their previous engine. I can't remember what that one's called.
Yeah. Now, I will say about them moving into a new direction, when they first came out with, in my opinion, okay, you guys, Oblivion and Skyrim, I mean, those system when that stuff came out, there was nothing else that could compare to Oblivion,
No,
in my
yeah.
opinion. And so for them to start changing, we got to give them a chance to change their system, in my opinion, their engine that they're using.
Oh yeah.
They have to try it in order to see if it's going to work. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So this engine's old. Very old. I'm not sure if Morrowind used a similar engine.
yeah.
I think that it was new for Oblivion, and then they continued it on to Skyrim. It could have started at Skyrim. I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure they used it for Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4. So this is an engine that it's modified, but it's still the same base engine. It's 2 generations old at least now. So this was kind of concerning to me because I found this article that was on Forbes.com, and this was, I guess, it was from the German website GameStar. This is where they found it, and I'm assuming they translated this quote from Todd Howard, Fallout, basically the creative director. I guess that's what he is. He's basically he's basically the spokes guy for Bethesda, essentially. Everyone,
B.
everyone knows. Yeah, everyone knows Todd Howard. So this was around E3. So it's an old article. I guess people didn't really dig it up. But this is what he said in regards to the creation engine that they're using for Fallout 6. He said, for Fallout 76, we have changed a lot. The game uses a new renderer, a new lighting system, and a new system for landscape generation. For Starfield, which is a game that they're going to be releasing next generation, along with the new Elder Scrolls game. For Starfield, even more of it changes. And for Elder Scrolls 6, out there on the horizon, even more. We like our editor. It allows us to create worlds really fast, and the modders know it really well. There are some elementary ways we create our games that will continue because that lets us be efficient, and we think it works best. So this to me is kind of concerning because this means that now this engine, once again, will be modified. However, it's moving on to the next generation. This engine has looked pretty much aged since Skyrim, right?
Mm-hmm.
You already have games that are doing more technically advanced things that are kind of reaching the scope of that, or have kind of surpassed the scope of that have more dynamic engines, less technical limitations. Yep, AI is a lot, more fluid in terms of their movement and even their speech. I don't think the speech really has anything to do with it, but it's just...
That's a different story.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to talk about dialogue because I think there were probably in total maybe 4 voice actors in Skyrim. I'm just kidding. But seriously.
But essentially what's going on here, and they're kind of doing similar to what Call of Duty has done as well. You play these games, they feel like they're aging now. And that wasn't a super big problem, but you started to kind of feel it really heavily with Fallout 4. It didn't feel like a modern game anymore. This is feeling like the older generation of games. And I think it's just concerning that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to feel that way when there are so many potential upgradable things that they could do for that game, especially since it's so far away in its release. And even Starfield, to me, it's a huge missed opportunity, and I think Bethesda is going to box themselves in here, making a game that is going to feel and probably look dated compared to these other games that are coming out here. Like, technology's not waiting for them.
Well, and something else that's concerning about that post is he mentions modders as, the community. Oh, they know this system well.
Yeah.
No, modders will come with whatever new system you
absolutely
have. And you can't hold yourself back just because the community adores this. They understand it. They get it. They want to keep making mods for new games. That's not how you progress. That's not how you change your systems. Keep going. They'll follow. The fan base is going to be so strong anyway. They're going to find out how to mod that game, but you can't hold yourself back when it comes to the actual game that people are falling in love with. You have to make that game as best as you can, especially to compete with the market. Nowadays, Skyrim came out. There wasn't anything else like it, right? Well, guess what? Now MMOs, people with custom computers, there's games coming out on Steam. There's tons of people that have these great engines, and it looks beautiful. I had so much fun playing all these aesthetic games. And then Skyrim tried to do this. They try to keep up in a way with that remastered, and people were excited. I mean, over the, I guess some people consider this little, but there's a lot of people excited about the lighting because in the screenshots it looked like it changed. Well, guess what? It barely changed.
It barely changed.
It barely changed. It looks like they added an Instagram filter, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's sad because other games can do that. They can make this immersive lighting, immersive surroundings, the wind, the seasons, this and that. We're expecting that with these new games coming out. If we don't feel like, we're there.
Yeah.
Look at this. We want to be excited over leaves blowing on the ground, just randomly. Like,
oh yeah.
Where's the tornadoes? Where's hurricanes? Where's lightning? Where's this?
Which
we
we've
want
seen
more.
That. We've seen that, like with
Yes.
smaller developed games. We've seen that, type of weather system and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Even combat. That's
the
gonna,
combat's clunky.
That's gonna have to change.
Yeah.
I mean,
These are very stiff games. Even Fallout 3 without VATS, and that's what kind of concerns me about Fallout 76. Fallout 3 without VATS, it's not really playable. It's not really a shooter. You know what I mean? It's very stiff.
it's like playing on Legendary.
It's like it's like aiming with your elbows. You know what I mean? Instead of your hands.
Yeah.
There's something off with the aim. Fallout 4 kind of fixed that. However, I'm not sure how VATS is going to work with Fallout 76 if you're playing online with people.
Well, they really in my opinion, I know I'm going to, people probably aren't going to like me, but in Fallout 4, I feel like they compensated with that VAT system, not really knowing what to do. Let's just implement you being in a big mech, because that's going to save it.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either.
I was upset because I want to feel like I'm exploring the environment, not my machine. If I wanted a mech game, I could go get one, but please don't make that about the game.
Oh,
I just felt so... It was like taking care of a child. All right, got to go change your battery. Okay, let's go do this.
I was not a fan.
I like how cool it was and how theatrical it was being introduced to it, but don't make it a requirement for me to get to every single place. It felt like they made it that way. The amount of enemies, and so on forth.
I feel like the thing with the power suit is that I feel like that's something that like you're striving to unlock, you're striving to get to. So getting it right off the bat to me kind of killed it for me. Mm-hmm. Like in Fallout 3, you have to work for that. Mm-hmm. You don't just get handed that power suit.
Bring the apocalypse, because I think we're all going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a huge fan of that. And there's a lot of things with Fallout 3, or not Fallout 3, Fallout 4 I wasn't a big fan of. Mm-hmm. We'll definitely have an episode dedicated to that closer to Fallout 76.
But 76 coming out, I'm very interested to see what they plan on doing, because once again, the physics complaint, that really concerns me about it.
Yeah, and I did have a follow-up. So because of that engine and because how dated it is, you're running into all these issues. And this is not uncommon. This isn't like a Bethesda exclusive thing that they do. Fallout 76 is going to be 45 gigabyte download. Okay. However, there's going to be a day one patch. This is an online only game, a day one patch.
Okay.
Guess how much the patch is?
I don't want to guess.
Guess how much?
Okay. 26 gigabytes.
Okay.
I'm just random.
Okay, so the day one patch for Fallout 76 is going to be 51 gigabytes. It's larger than the actual game. So you can look at that in many different ways. I like to be optimistic, and I like to think that this is going to repair all those issues because of how big the update is. But me and you both know how, how big like Elder Scrolls Online patches are. 100 gigabytes, I think it was that one time. Maybe not 100 gigabytes.
Well, it's big.
It was probably around 50.
It's very
50
big.
or 80.
And that just has me concerned because of the amount of space you have on. Obviously, playing. This is going to be the only game probably you're going to have in your library. It
requires, I think, 109 gigabytes of free storage in order to download this game.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that was what they had on there. So I mean that's a massive update. I believe Call of Duty though had a similar size for that was an online only game too. I believe that had a similar size update. So it's not just Bethesda.
No.
I would like to think that this is a hefty patch for a reason though, and it's patching things that people had problems with. Because I think Fallout could be successful online. I think that it's a really interesting concept, like we said before. My only concern, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, I'm kind of concerned that it's going to end up like Sea of Thieves, where it's I'm not sure how open that was, but it's an open world and there's not a lot of things to do in it.
Well, ironically, they say open world, but in an open world, there are things to do. There are things to do in different places, different times. That's concerning. And on top of the whole patch size issue, I know it's big. Yeah, so what? Well, the concern comes when the game's coming in like, 40 something gigabytes. They have this patch that's bigger than the game. They're fixing a lot of stuff. There's something happening there. There were concerns, I guess, when they released it, and now they're changing this and changing that. That's a lot of changes to do. Did they have the time they needed, really, to really concentrate on this game and get it to how they want?
Yeah.
Or do they just shoot it out and then let people decide what was wrong with it? And then we'll fix it, and we'll fix it, and make this big patch. That to me spells out we're kind of rushing this game a little bit, and that kind of scares me just a little tad.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of reasons this game was rushed out. It definitely doesn't feel like they're taking their time with it, which concerns me a little bit. But I guess because it's an online game, and I mean you could make I'm not sure if this is the same development team that Elder Scrolls Online had when we first played that game. It had issues. It wasn't the same game it is now. It definitely has made improvements over the years. So maybe because it's an online only game, they're thinking, hey, let's put this out here. We'll fix it as we go.
Yeah.
We'll get data, we'll collect it. That was part of the reason the beta was out. But you can't fix everything in time for their projected launch.
I'm hoping they have a good, a really big staff to handle. They have a large fan base. You guys, like, they have a huge fan base.
Oh, yeah, it's massive.
To please. And
it is, yeah.
With that fan base, I feel like you need as many people as you can to help you with this. So you can get it out on the dates you want, and you're not waiting 5 more years to release a game everyone's waiting for. Because it does come with a time crunch. But you have to make sure you have people for that. If they need more people, get more people to meet the deadlines without stressing out everyone. That kind of concerns me too.
Yeah.
Just simple
Yeah,
business, I guess,
In the previews that I've also have kind of glanced over, one of their biggest complaints is that the world's very empty.
Yeah.
Which is
concerning.
That is concerning. I mean, it's a big world, but what's the point if
and the gaming industry is booming with money? Where's the people?
Now, once again, it was the beta, and only select people had the beta. There's not a lot of not like a massive amount that I anticipate probably picking this game up. And I feel like this game can go either, one of two ways. It's going to have these negative previews, and then when it comes out, there's something magic about it. It takes off. And I mean, that's possible. That is possible. But I'm also, a part of me thinks that this might just be a colossal failure,
Well, I feel like every game they've ever come out with, honestly, in my opinion, has been a good game. But on the expectation level, it just varies with different people. This is a game, honestly, we're not really told too much. You see these cute scenes, you see these cute little cartoons.
Yeah.
You have an expectation in your head. Everyone's deriving it from this cartoon. But what are we going to do? It's like Fallout 4. I didn't know we'd be able to, see our little baby in a crib, walk up to the mirror, customize ourselves. It could blow us away. Or it can, kind of go, I didn't like the direction they took. It can go either way.
And I'm trying to stay. I know I just talked about like glancing over previews, and I use glancing that term as really just a literal thing. I'm trying to stay away from this game as much as I can, so that way if I do decide to pick it up on Wednesday when it comes out, I'm gonna go in fresh. At least I'll have like a clear perspective. But I don't know if I'm going to grab it on Wednesday, to be honest with you. I might actually wait this one out and see what the public perception of it is. I mean,
wait for the couple updates.
Yeah, and I mean, I always like to kind of play a game and decide for myself. It's very rare I'll actually go up and read a review and really draw any sort of weight from that or conclusion.
Yeah.
I like to experience it myself. I like to put in some hours into the game before I really determine whether or not I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical about this one. I really am.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to wait till I have plenty of time to really sit down and go, do I like this? Do I not? Why do I not? It takes, you can't just judge it right off the bat. You got to play it for how they constructed the game. I mean, they made it this way for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, there's like this first tough tutorial. Who knows? In the
Oh,
beginning,
yeah.
it's not fun. Maybe it's too much story. You got to get into a game to really experience what their intent was when they created it, how you're supposed to have fun, and really analyze it all before you start going, I hate it, the first 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
definitely have some time and play it, and that's how I'm going to roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that it's coming out at a really bad time, just because I'm still playing Dark Souls. I still want to get to the Spider-Man DLC.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to get Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers is coming out next month.
And for how good Red Dead Redemption is being touted,
Yeah,
it's kind of concerning that they're coming out in such a, I guess, competitive.
it's very hostile
time
right
frame.
now. Like if they
Yeah.
don't nail it, I mean, people are gonna still pick it up. It's Fallout.
Oh yeah, the fan base is so big, they're gonna go grab
like
it.
they're not gonna be hurting or anything like that. But just in terms of my personal, my personal situation, there's just so many games that are out and so many games that I'm playing right now that this game's really going to have to be excellent in order for me to pick it up right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping that it is. I'm hoping that it surprises
because you
us.
could play with your friends, something
I
that
know.
obviously the other games don't really offer besides Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a good game, I mean, I
Yeah.
honestly wouldn't be I wouldn't be like against the idea of us like playing it or whatever, putting it up on the channel. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I never could really get fully. The sad part is I really liked Fallout 3. New Vegas wasn't my thing. I played it a little bit. Here comes, Fallout 76 where I can, because Fallout 4 I tried it, it just wasn't my forte.
Yeah,
I didn't like the
it's-
suit,
yeah.
turned me off with that. I was like, no thanks. And if y'all think I'm going to take care of this town, you dead wrong. And, I was just kind of flustered over it. So I was like, I can't do this. And I'm a collection person. I love that aspect. But with the whole taking care of being a governor, no thank you. That's not me.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to 76 playing with friends, and hopefully we, not our mechs, are exploring the wasteland and enjoying it and doing some crazy stuff and not having to take care of an NPC. That's not a job I want. So
yeah, I feel like there's not
I'm
going to be a lot of
excited.
NPCs in the game, so
Yeah,
seems like it's mainly like players and whatnot.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hoping that I like it, and obviously, if I end up playing it and we decide this is it, let's put this on the channel.
Yeah,
then
why not?
We might
Yeah.
come out with our own Let's Plays and own opinions on
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
so
whatever.
we'll see.
Yeah, whatever we play, we'll have a review. We're also going to be starting a little series that's going to be geared to us playing games, and just kind of like our journeys up to that point. It's going to be like a game log. That's going to be a podcast that will still be on the Gamepinions feed. It's just going to kind of be its own like side. It's going to be like a side quest here. It's not going to be on like the primary feed, or it is going to be on the primary feed. It's not going to be on it's not going to go in line with the actual Gamepinions podcast, but
Something on the side.
it's something on the side, but at the same time, it's very
Here's
much
our main quest.
intertwined.
That's our side quest.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's gonna go
Essentially, yeah.
down. Just
Like we'll get more in depth with what we're playing, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Like we'll go into like the stats of like our characters and stuff like that. Our first game's going to be Dark Souls remastered for the Nintendo Switch.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we have our first episode of that.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next thing here, and actually, I wanted, before we got into the Twitter topic of the day, which this is when we go through, because we don't have people tweeting at us, but I like to let people know that their opinions are being listened to and appreciated. So we go on to Twitter, we look up a certain topic. Today we did the PlayStation 1 Classic. I tried to find really positive things about it and was unsuccessful.
Oh no.
So yeah, this is going to be kind of brutal.
Okay.
Before I get into that though, it's been a while since I've made a podcast, and I wanted to address the PlayStation cross platform for Fortnite. I said that this was something that they were going to draw out for like the rest of the generation, and they'd bring it back for PlayStation 5, and they'd be like, hey, look what we have. We have this amazing cross-platform feature that should have been included since like, the beginning of time. Yeah, I was wrong. They're going to be flexing on that, and they're going to allow that to happen. So Fortnite's going to have cross-platform play. It probably already has it now on the PlayStation 4. And Rocket League is going to join in as well, which is awesome because now you'll be able to play Rocket League eventually, I think in 2019. It's going to just have a Rocket League account, similar to what they did with Minecraft, like how we can play it on Switch and all that.
Mhm.
They're going to have it for Rocket League, so You can play Rocket League with all the stuff you bought on PlayStation 4 on the Switch and on other systems as well. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm excited for that. So yeah, good on PlayStation. You know, they that is one thing that PlayStation, I think, has been really good at, for sure. I mean, they've been good at a lot of stuff this generation. This has kind of been their thing. And this was really the first like controversy that they had and really had to address. And after like years of like, or not years, but after like a year now of like bouncing it back and forth, you know, people saying different things. Oh, we're looking for a solution. Oh, we're not looking for a solution. PlayStation's the best place to play. So after a year of that going back and forth, it seems like they finally had a company-wide discussion, met, and came up with a solution. And a bonus, they also created, or they also found a way to to change the PlayStation Network names, which is yay. But
for indecisive people like me.
Yeah, they will charge you though.
Yeah, no, people are gonna be putting some money into that.
And it's also. Well, we're not going to get super into it. It's also a mess in terms of your trophies for PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita and PlayStation Portable.
Oh, boy.
It's a mess.
Oh, no.
All those games are coded in with your old name. It's just,
wow.
It's messed up. But you only have PlayStation 4, so it doesn't really matter to you.
Yeah, I have no history. I'm good.
Yeah. You have no repercussions. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that just because I wanted to address that because that was something that I was like super like confident that they would not fix. So we're gonna head into the topic, Twitter topic of the day. God, okay. So we're gonna go through here. This first one is gonna be from Travi at Waffle Neo. My PlayStation TV costs less than half of that PlayStation 1 Classic, and obviously plays way more. Has many more features. The PlayStation 1 Classic has to be the most pointless hardware they've released since the iToy. That is a pretty aggressive comment. Do you remember what the iToy was?
Oh, no, I don't.
It was augmented virtuality, I believe. It was augmented virtuality, and it was basically a game that had you on the TV from the camera, and you interacted with the game by like moving your hands.
Oh,
but it was based on like the perimeter of the camera.
That's like Wii or something, like way back.
It was in the PlayStation 2 era.
Oh.
There was dancing games. It was a mess. It was a mess. Yeah. We'll definitely have
a strong opinion too. I mean,
it's these are not nice comments about PlayStation. Oh man, okay. I tried to find positive ones because I like having like a positive Twitter topic too.
Savage on Twitter. Look at them go.
I could not find a single good one. If there are any, they are buried so deep and I didn't have time to go and dig them out.
Oh,
I even tried putting like excited for PlayStation 1 Classic.
Aww.
And all of them were just like, I'm not excited for PlayStation 1 Classic.
Oh no.
It was bad. So this next one is from Murray Lane at Ghostman Muss. Canceled the PlayStation 1 Classic pre-order. Sad face.
Oh.
Just not good enough to justify the price tag. Line face.
Yep, money's money. I mean,
it's a lot. I mean, $100 for a system that is a novelty item, more expensive than the NES and Super Nintendo classics.
What are you gonna get your kids for Christmas? $100 PlayStation that has some very few games, or an actual console they can play like Switch in the car? You know, save your money and just at that point you'll have enough. You know,
yeah.
That's
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's not really illogical.
Probably a bad time to release it.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. This next one's from Princess Lucina at Princess Lucina at _ Princess Lucina.
Oh.
Sorry, gotta be technical. I have every system in the family, so oh god.
You okay over there?
No, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I have every system in the family, so I don't need to do that. But I was just pointing out that they call this the PlayStation Classic, but it doesn't have most of the classics on there. It's better for people to buy a PS1 or PS2 than buy this, how cheap they are now. And I agree. We talked about that too.
You know, with the games, I mean, you're going to have people that don't think those are classics. Once again, it's not really firm, I guess, in what people would portray as the classics for PlayStation. Everyone has their taste.
Yeah, it's very objective too. You know, it's in the eyes of the beholder. So Andy Tudor at Real Andy Tudor says, PlayStation Mini Classic pre-order canceled. So many games missing and bad previews. Exasperated face?
Well, at least they're putting some emojis to show some emotion.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Even though I worked at Sony during this time and played the PlayStation 1 religiously at uni, my heart says no to this one, unfortunately.
Oh.
Sad face with a little sweat drip.
Oh, unfortunately. See, that one, I mean, he was just trying to be honest.
No, I mean, and you can tell that he's a PlayStation fan. And this, to me, shows that, their core audience doesn't really, this kind of work for Sony, apparently, allegedly.
Exactly.
And it shows that they're not really super into it. And that's why I think Twitter's so interesting when you go on there. You get to see a lot of, you can search up different terms. You get to see, like, the core fan base. You can kind of tell if they're just trolls or whatever. But a lot of these people... I mean,
are genuinely upset
this is their actual.
What was released.
Absolutely, and I think that's very interesting, and that's why I like going and doing this Twitter thing, because we're kind of digging up things that we normally wouldn't see unless you kind of dig it up. So yeah, I mean once again, it's sad that this isn't really delivering. It's just kind of like a niche product. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have a huge reach here.
Look, we came out with something. Yeah, I feel like the news of them being cross-platform was enough.
Yeah, I mean
that itself, was really big news.
That was what Sony had to do. And this, once again, it's a cash grab. It's slash, kind of just for collecting purposes. Like, look, you can have this little tiny PlayStation. It looks adorable.
Should have had a shirt that said "Buy our merch" or something.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Oh man. Okay, so this one, I'm going to butcher this name. Jirabi at Lozy 1080p 60 frames per second. That is probably one of the biggest Twitter tags I've seen. That is pretty impressive. The PlayStation Classic brings back fond memories of PS1 demo discs because they were a better collection of games than this $100 garbage.
Oh my gosh.
Man, that was the last one we had, and that's brutal. That's a brutal comment as well.
I mean, it doesn't seem like people are very happy about it. I mean, some people are genuinely just upset. Some people are frustrated. Some people, I want to know. I'm not sure if this is going to be something we can end up digging up or not. I highly doubt it. But like the return rate of these things,
I don't know. That's going to be hard to. We'll just go into
the cancellations. The just start asking them all these questions.
Do you have any used PlayStation 1 Classics? Oh yeah, we have 30.
Yeah, just ask them what their stock is, how they're doing.
I honestly can't imagine them having a ton of stock of this. I think they will sell.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are going to lose a lot of core sales. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what the NES Classic sold, though. I mean, that thing it sold like crazy. And I'm happy they re-put it out there. We should get one of those at one point. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine it selling extremely well, but I think it's so cheap to make. Like the manufacturer costs must be.
Yeah, they must not be losing anything per se from it.
They will make a hefty profit.
I feel like it's just to be active in the market per se.
It's to have something. It's to have a new piece of hardware out for Christmas. That's essentially all it is, or the holidays. That's essentially what it is to me. So it's once again interesting to see the reaction. People aren't positive. Like there's not a lot of positivity out there.
So sad.
I know.
Don't go on Twitter right now, you guys.
Yeah, don't. If you are a huge fan of PlayStation 1 Classic,
don't fight them, okay?
Yeah, you are in the minority here because there is a vocal majority on Twitter right now that's just bashing this machine.
Just stay clear, okay?
Who
knows how fierce these guys are gonna get on Twitter?
Yeah, you play your Twisted Metal and you play your, And it's if it's a little system that you could probably get for
fight the system. Post pictures saying how ignorant everyone else is.
Yeah. Fight back. Let your opinion be known.
Add us so we can talk about it.
Yeah, we want to defend your cause here. We want to support that.
We need some positive reviews. So if anyone has some, at Gamepinions, so we can talk
Twitter
about
handle
it.
at Gamepinions. So, yeah, we are. I think we're pretty much done here, right? We're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, and I actually
got
have
a
to
little
get ready to go
riled
for work.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's getting late. So Kim, thank you so much for being on here. Can we expect you back on at any time, or are you gonna be a permanent
hopefully
fixture?
I'm a frequent one. You know what I'm saying? Like always a player 2 or something. So hopefully I always have a spot here.
Absolutely,
I definitely want to join up on here and just continue talking with you guys. So
absolutely. I think you did great.
Thank you.
I think once again, we've been trying to do this for such a long time. So having you on here has been a lot of fun. This is a goal that I set in the prologue episode of Gamepinions, where I wanted to have people on the show. So congratulations on being the first one.
Woo!
And yeah, hopefully
We don't have
we'll
trophies yet, right?
No trophies yet.
Okay.
That's not in the budget.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna call it there. So you guys can follow us at Gamepinions. Make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes. That way you don't miss out on any of these podcasts. For those of you watching on YouTube, you see that there's no camera right now. We don't have one just because our setup is super janky. Kim, you can attest to that.
It's yeah, no.
Yeah. So that is something we're going to be looking forward to doing in the future when we have a better setup and more things are kind of, better for that type of...
We're not about to Skype you guys. I'm sorry. We want to at least be professional,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this way it kind of hides like the monstrosity that we have set up here. But look forward to that in the future. We're definitely going to be able to do that eventually. There's just not really a timetable on that right now. But make sure you guys still subscribe to us here on YouTube. Subscribe to us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Gamepinions. Kim, do you have any Instagram plugs or anything, or any Twitter plugs you want to?
Not at
yet?
the moment.
Okay.
So
Coming soon?
Yeah.
Okay.
If people even want it.
Hey, you know what? Hey, it is what it is.
All right. Thank you guys so much for
All right,
having
guys.
me.